We're back with yet another video about your favourite creepypastas. This time we're focusing on Sega and all the creepy tales it has to offer. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another gaming vid. And with that, let's just jump right in. To begin, we have a story titled Sega Legacy, the Unreleased Console. This creepypasta uploaded to the Bad Pasta wiki begins in 2006, when Sega was planning on releasing their first console since the Dreamcast. The 7th generation console was called Sega Legacy. The first and only game that was ever created for the Legacy to go along with the console was called Sonic Legacy. It was essentially Sonic the Hedgehog, except the graphics were in 3D and first-person view was enabled. Before they announced its completion, Sega gave away 5 Legacies to employees who had kids, in order for the kids to test it out and give feedback. 2 of the families refused, but the other 3 were happy to accept the gift, with Sega promising to let them keep the console afterwards. 2 days later, one of the Sega employees' 8-year-old son was playing Sonic Legacy. After going to bed at 10 PM, he woke up in the night, turning on the console. Minutes later, he walked into his parents' room, eyes wide with an eerie smile on his face. His father asked what was wrong, but the boy continued to stand there, smiling. He replied, "I'm Robotnik." His voice was distorted and muffled. Suddenly the lights in the room went out, with it staying out all night long. In the morning the mother went to wake her son for school, but he was gone. Nobody ever found him. Similar occurrences took place with other families, which alarmed Sega, who visited each of them. The families returned the consoles. Following the incidents, Sega employees decided to test it out themselves to see if the game had anything to do with the disappearances. The title screen ran and everything appeared normal. However, during the final boss battle with Robotnik, something odd happened. The audio began to sound distorted and the game suddenly paused. Sonic began to smile. The game then went to a cutscene. The big shock was that no Sonic game had ever contained a cutscene in the middle of the final boss battle. A cartoon Sonic sat down on a rock looking at something glowing. The glowing then stopped. It then cut to the body of Robotnik. His eyes torn out, hair pulled out, and he was bleeding from his wrinkles. Sonic began to cut open the body before stepping inside of it. Sonic now looked like Robotnik. The game then showed another Sonic running around. The Sonic dressed as Robotnik gave an eerie smile. All the events after the cutscene are unknown. All that is known is that there was another cutscene afterwards. From the other room, people claimed to hear a man speaking in Russian. When they came back in the room, they found everybody lying there dead with their eyes ripped out. However, 2 employees survived, one blind and confined to a wheelchair, the other refusing to speak about what took place in the room. All copies of Sonic Legacy were said to be destroyed. This led to the cancellation of the Sega Legacy console. However, in 2009, a video game bootlegger found a Sega Legacy. The eerie part, they were able to play Sonic Legacy without the disc. A few days later, they were found dead in their closet. They had hung themselves. Next up, we have a story entitled Sega Dreamcast, Why It Went Away. Uploaded to Wattpad, this creepypasta begins with the author describing how in 1999 the Sega Dreamcast was released in the US. It was Sega's last console ever made, and it followed the unsuccessful Sega Saturn, so it was their last chance to make something great. The Dreamcast was received well and at first glance appeared to be a success, but it was not, and here is the reason why. Now, some theorize that the console failed because of the success of the PlayStation 2, but no, it was because the console was messing with people's minds, but mostly because of one game in particular, called Schizophrenia. The game starts without telling you a thing. You just wake up in an old rundown abandoned insane asylum. You're strapped to a bed and you must struggle to break free. Apparently the game had amazing graphics, even by today's standards. You then walk to the door and open it. It screeches, loudly. It's dark outside the door. According to one player, the creepiest thing about the game was that there was no music, just the sound of wind, falling paint and dirt, your footsteps and breathing, and disturbing voices that never stopped whispering, talking, laughing and crying. Then you're forced to search for a fuse box to get the lights back on. This sounds eerily similar to Outlast if you ask me, but anyway, I'll proceed. There were rotting bodies everywhere, filled with maggots. Every now and then you lose control of the character. He would grab his head and scream in pain, and a very creepy picture would flash on your screen. Some players swore they even saw shadows move through the game. The screen would glitch and twitch, with many not being able to shake the feeling of being watched. Then something happened that changed one player's life forever. He said that he finally reached the point where he said out loud to himself, "The game is too goddamn scary. I can't play this anymore." Then he stood up and turned off the game. At this moment, the player said that he was violently slapped in the face and pushed into his chair. He then heard a demonic voice say, "No. Play." He screamed and ripped the console off the table and onto the floor. However, he was one of the lucky ones. In the year 2000 to 2007, over 200 men, women and children were found either mutilating themselves or found dead after playing the game. There were also 50 cases of people becoming violent, suicidal, and withdrawn just from playing the Dreamcast. Well, there we have it. What do you guys think of these stories? Do you have any others you want us to read out on the channel? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below and perhaps we can do a part 2. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another gaming vid. And until next time, see you later.